Everyone's talking about DeepSeek, the small AI company in China that's shaking up the entire tech industry. But the kicker is this: they did it with just $6 million, and that's a fraction of what AI giants like OpenAI and Google are spending. And supposedly, there's no cutting edge GPUs here, no massive tech teams, just a smart strategy and innovative thinking. And the result? Well, a groundbreaking AI model that's now forcing billion-dollar companies to pay attention. And if this doesn't get your attention, it should, because disruption like this doesn't just happen in tech, it's coming for every industry, including yours. But here's the real question: are you ready? Are you prepared to adapt your business when disruption hits your industry? Or will you get caught off guard, scrambling to keep up with competitors who've already learned how to thrive inside the chaos? Well, today I'm going to show you how to prepare using 3 powerful lessons that we can see from DeepSeek's rise and that you can actually apply to your business right now. These aren't just theories, they're proven strategies to help you stay ahead no matter how big your competitors are. The truth is, disruption doesn't wait. It doesn't care if you're ready. It doesn't send you a warning. Businesses that survive and thrive are the ones who embrace change. They find opportunities in the chaos and they adapt quickly. And that's exactly what DeepSeek's story can teach us, not just about AI, but about thinking differently and working smarter in your own business. Think about it. How does a small startup with none of the advantages of the big players manage to disrupt an entire industry? DeepSeek didn't have the billion-dollar R&D budgets or access to the most advanced hardware, supposedly. But what they did have was an ability to find leverage, optimize the resources, and use their constraints to fuel innovation. These are the same principles that you can use to future-proof your business. And if you're wondering, well, how does this actually relate to me? It's actually simple. Whether you're a developer or a consultant or you're running a small business, the lessons from DeepSeek apply to every industry. In fact, I've been applying these same strategies in my own projects. For example, I've been building a Visual Studio extension that utilizes AI to help me write and optimize code faster. It's something that I started for myself, and I've been amazed by the efficiency gains that I've already seen. And if you're a developer, you might find it useful too, and I'll leave a link below where you can sign up for the wait list if you're curious about it. Now let's go back to the big picture. In today's video, we'll break down 3 lessons from DeepSeek's rise. First is how to find leverage points, and these are small changes that create big impacts. And second, it's how to analyze your processes for hidden opportunities. And third, it's how to turn your constraints into an actual competitive advantage. These strategies aren't just about staying afloat in a fast-changing world. They're about positioning your business to thrive. So grab something to take notes with, because we're about to dive into the lesson head first. Point number 1 is you need to find leverage points where small changes create big impacts. So let's start with one of the most game-changing strategies there are: leverage points. These are the areas in your business where small, targeted changes can actually create massive results. It's like using a lever and a fulcrum. Just by applying a little bit of pressure in the right spot, and you can move something much larger than you ever thought. Now, the key is knowing where to focus your energy. DeepSeek's rise is a perfect example of this principle in action. They didn't try to compete head-on with the tech giants by pouring billions into research or building a custom model. Instead, they found leverage points, existing resources like pre-trained language models, and they used them strategically. They didn't reinvent the wheel, they optimized it for their needs. And by focusing their limited budget and talent on what mattered most, they created a breakthrough product that's now competing with the industry leaders. Now, I'm not here to suggest that everyone flock to DeepSeek. In fact, I've yet to actually sign up with them. I've never signed up for a TikTok account. But I do confess I do use CapCut to edit these videos. That said, I definitely use their models on servers that I control. And the question is this: how can you find these leverage points in your business? So let's break it down into 3 practical steps. First, you need to identify your bottlenecks or opportunities. Start by looking at your results. Where are the biggest bottlenecks that's holding you back? Or where do you see untapped opportunities? These are often the areas where small change can have an outsized impact. These are often the areas where small change can have a very big impact. For example, if you're a consultant who spends hours manually creating proposals, ask yourself, what if I could streamline this process? Maybe you could build a Word template that you can reuse. A tweak like that can actually save you hours every single time you do a proposal, freeing up time for more high value tasks like client acquisition. So let's say you're running a small business and you're struggling with inventory management. You might identify that the bottleneck is a lack of real-time inventory tracking. And by implementing a simple and affordable inventory management tool, you can actually save many, many hours. You could reduce errors and you can actually improve customer satisfaction. So the leverage point would be clear, and it's just about taking action of implementing an inventory system. Now, second, you need to double down on your strengths. The next step is to actually focus on what you're already good at. What are you doing that's working? And how can you amplify it? DeepSeek didn't try to master every part of AI development. They leaned into their ability to optimize existing tools and models. In your business, this can mean doubling down on your strongest skill or your biggest area of expertise. To that extent, I don't see the mass panic that's in the markets to be warranted. DeepSeek didn't have to spend billions because they utilized the billions that others already spent. But back to doubling down on your strengths. Let's say that you're fantastic at building relationships, but you struggle at staying on top of follow-ups. So implementing a CRM tool or automating email sequences could actually amplify your strengths while covering your weaknesses. By investing in systems that enhance what you already do well, you create a multiplier effect on your results. Now, third, you need to gather feedback and fresh perspectives. Don't underestimate the power of feedback. Sometimes the leverage points in your business, they're hiding in plain sight, and you need an outside perspective to see them. So talk to your team, talk to your clients, even a trusted mentor or coach. Ask them questions like, what's one thing we could improve that would make the biggest difference? For example, a client might mention that they're always waiting on certain updates from you, and that eats into their time. Well, that's a clear signal that you need to streamline your communication, or you potentially create self-serve tools like a client portal where they could come and track in their project status in real time. The solution doesn't have to be complex, it just has to be done. You see, leverage points are about working smarter, not harder. And when you focus on finding leverage points, well, you stop spinning your wheels and you start making real progress. It's not about doing more, it's about doing the right things. Just like DeepSeek identified the areas where they could get the most out of their limited resources, you can find those same high impact areas in your own business. The best part is that you don't need to overhaul everything in order to see results. In fact, once you've identified your leverage points, you'll be ready to move on to the next step. And that's optimizing your processes around them. Because finding leverage points is only half the battle. The real transformation happens when you fine-tune your systems to capitalize on those opportunities. But there's little point in optimizing something that won't really move the needle in your business. And that's why we just discussed the critical first step of finding your leverage point. All right, let's talk about the next lesson. And that is point number 2, analyzing your current processes for optimization opportunities. Once you've identified the leverage points in your business, the next step is to analyze your processes for optimization opportunities. This is where the real work begins. This is where you start taking a deep dive into how your business operates, and you start finding ways to improve efficiency, reduce waste, and ultimately achieve better results. Optimization isn't just about making drastic overnight changes. It's about small, deliberate adjustments that refine what you already have. And DeepSeek is an example of this, where they didn't reinvent AI from scratch. They didn't go and create a brand new model. They optimized existing language models and streamlined their development process to focus on their unique goals. And with that level of being intentional, they turned a limited budget and resource into groundbreaking results. So, how do you analyze your processes for these opportunities? Well, it all starts with getting a clear picture of how things currently work. Number one is you need to map out your workflow. First, remember that the workflow that you're mapping out is what you determine would give you the most leverage in your business. Whether it's how you onboard new clients, deliver services, manage internal operations, just make every step of the process visible. This doesn't have to be complicated. You start with a simple flowchart or even just a bullet point list. The goal is to uncover inefficiencies and to uncover areas for improvement. For instance, if you run a service-based business that goes to residential areas, and you might notice that the onboarding process for a new client takes too long because you're manually collecting and writing the same information visit after visit. So by mapping out the steps, you could identify the opportunity to use some device like a tablet and a form to streamline the process, or even utilize an AI to capture the person's information as they're saying it, so you don't have to write it or type it. A small adjustment like that could actually save hours of admin work and create a smoother experience as you're talking to your clients for the first time. Number two, look for bottlenecks, look for repetitive tasks. So after your workflow is mapped out, that's when you start looking for your bottlenecks and your repetitive tasks. And these are often the areas where you can achieve the biggest gains by optimizing or automating. And the example I just gave be a bottleneck of taking too long to get a client's information. Perhaps you mostly take appointments via the phone, and you're out working on a job and you have to stop and answer the phone or call them back when you get to a stopping point in order to schedule their appointment. Using an app to allow people to schedule an appointment and then mentioning the app in your voicemail could actually free you up to actually getting your work completed without getting sidetracked on booking additional business. If we're to believe what we were told, DeepSeek didn't have the luxury of a massive team. They didn't have billions of dollars. They had to minimize inefficiencies wherever possible. Instead of wasting time reinventing models, they used off-the-shelf solutions and focused on optimizing them for their specific needs. That focus on streamlining their efforts allowed them to achieve what most companies could only dream of, even when they had 10 times the budget, or sometimes 100 times the budget. Number three is you need to improve communication to reduce friction. Another area ripe for optimization is communication. Poor communication can slow down decision making, it can frustrate your team, it can frustrate your clients, and create a bunch of unnecessary back and forth. So start by asking yourself, where do misunderstandings actually come from? Where do they happen most often? Is it too many emails? Is it unclear instructions? Is it long delays in getting feedback? You might find that your clients weren't clear on what you're actually going to deliver. Or maybe your team spends too much time clarifying tasks because the instructions aren't too clear. A solution can be as simple as using a project management tool to centralize communication and make priorities more visible. Or if you're working with clients, you could make sure that your workflow includes all of the communication touch points that your clients expect in order to not be surprised and to ensure they have a great experience as you deliver your services to them. Number four is use technology, but keep it simple. Technology can be a powerful tool for optimization, but it is important to keep things simple. Adding more tools doesn't necessarily mean better results. and sometimes it creates more complexity and causes worse results. So start by taking an inventory of the tools that you're already using, see if they're serving your needs or if they're creating more friction. If you find gaps, look for tools that align with your goals. It depends on what you determined was your biggest point of leverage. But whatever it is, there are tools that can help. It doesn't have to be the most expensive. The goal is to simplify, not overcomplicate. Number 5, make optimization a habit. Optimization isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. Markets change, technologies evolve, and your business needs to keep up. So schedule regular check-ins to review your workflows and gather feedback from your team or your clients and identify new opportunities for improvement. This habit of continuous optimization will ensure that your business stays efficient and adaptable in the face of change. The great thing is that optimization creates space for growth. At its core, optimization isn't just about cutting cost or saving time. It's about creating space. Space that you can use to focus on innovation. Space you can use to build stronger relationships. Space you can use to explore new opportunities. Just like DeepSeek refined their processes to maximize their limited resources, you can do the same to create a more streamlined and scalable business. And once your processes are optimized, you're ready to tackle the next big opportunity, turning your constraints into competitive advantages. And that's where we're going to go next, and it'll be the final lesson of this video. Point number 3 is using constraints as a competitive advantage. So let's talk about something most people see as a weakness, but can actually become one of your greatest strengths. Constraints. Whether it's a limited budget, a small team, or outdated tools, constraints often feel like obstacles standing in your way. But the truth is, constraints can be the key to unlocking innovation and gaining an edge over your competition. DeepSeek's story is a perfect example of this. They did not have billions in funding, supposedly. They didn't have top-tier hardware or access to the resources of companies like OpenAI or Google. But instead of seeing their limitations as barriers, they used their constraints to fuel their creativity. They focused on what they could do with what they actually had. Like they optimized pre-trained AI models and worked with cost-effective hardware, and that mindset turned their constraints into their greatest competitive advantage. So the question is, how can you do the same in your business? So let's explore 3 ways to turn your constraints into strengths. First, you need to narrow your focus and find your niche. When resources are limited, the temptation is to try and do everything, accept work from anybody. But the smarter move is to do fewer things and to do them exceptionally well. Instead of spreading yourself too thin, focus on your niche and become the go-to expert in that area. A small business that specializes in one thing can often outshine larger competitors trying to serve everyone. Let's say that you're a developer building custom software solutions. Instead of offering general services, you can actually focus on specific industries like healthcare or education. And by niching down, you not only reduce the complexity of your work, but you also position yourself as an expert who truly understands the unique challenges of that specific industry. Clients will notice the difference, and it'll be much harder for competitors to replicate your expertise. DeepSeek did exactly this by focusing on optimizing existing models instead of trying to compete on every front in AI development. They didn't need to reinvent the wheel. They just made it work better for their specific goals. Second, you should leverage partnerships and collaboration with people or tools. Another way to overcome constraints is by building partnerships. If you don't have the resources to do everything in-house, ask yourself, who can you collaborate with to fill the gaps? Partnerships allow you to extend your capabilities without overextending your resources. Let's say you're running a small business and you don't have the budget for a full-scale marketing campaign. Well, you could partner with another business in order to cross promote your services. Or if you're building a new product, you could collaborate with freelancers or other companies to tackle parts of that product that's outside of your expertise. This not only reduces costs, but it also brings in fresh ideas and perspectives that can strengthen your offerings. In my own work, I've leaned into collaboration with tools to overcome my constraints. For example, while building my Visual Studio AI extension, CodeSlinger, I've used existing AI tools like Claude Desktop and the Model Context Protocol, along with local models served by Olama, instead of developing everything from scratch. And this allowed me to focus on unique features that I wanted to add without getting bogged down into unnecessary complexity. And if you're curious about what I'm building, you can check out the waitlist over at codeslinger.ai. I'd love to see if you're interested in that extension or not. Third, you can use constraints to drive innovation. Constraints force you to think differently and question assumptions. Just because something has always been done a certain way doesn't mean it's the best way. When you're limited by time, money, or resources, you're pushed to get creative and find more efficient ways to solve problems. For example, if you don't have the budget for a flashy new tool, ask yourself, how can you achieve the same outcome with what you already have? Maybe it's repurposing existing tools in a new way, or streamlining your workflows, or automating manual tasks. DeepSeek did this by taking off-the-shelf models and optimizing them instead of trying to build everything from scratch. That same mindset can lead to breakthroughs in your own business. Constraints also make your story more compelling. Think about it. Who doesn't love an underdog story? Sharing how you actually overcame challenges to deliver results, it can resonate deeply with your audience, and they'll desire to do business with you. It builds trust, and it shows that you're resourceful, innovative, and capable of delivering value even under difficult circumstances. If DeepSeek was a US company, things would be looked at a little bit differently. The real issue is the unknown of if it is truly an underdog. But it helps with the lessons I'm trying to teach here. So that's why I'm going with it. You see, constraints are actually the ultimate opportunity. When you shift your mindset to see constraints as opportunities, you gain a huge advantage. You start looking for ways to innovate, prioritize, and focus on what truly matters. Instead of being held back by your limitations, you use them as a launch pad for creativity and growth. So, what constraints are you facing right now? Maybe it's a tight budget, limited staff, major time crunch. Whatever it is, take a step back and ask yourself, how can I turn this into an opportunity? When you approach constraints with the right mindset, they stop being roadblocks and they start becoming your secret weapon. Whatever your biggest constraint is right now, that's likely the very first lever that you want to tackle. So now that we've explored the lessons from DeepSeek's rise, let's take a moment to reflect on what this means for your business. The disruption that we're seeing in AI is just the beginning. It's a sign of how quickly industries can shift. But you don't have to be caught off guard. You have the tools to not only survive, but to actually thrive in the face of change. So here's a quick recap of what we covered today. First, we talked about finding leverage points. These are the areas in your business where small, strategic changes can create big results. These are the levers that allow you to work smarter, not harder. Next, we explored how to analyze your current processes around that lever for optimization opportunities so that you can refine what you already have and unlock hidden potential. And finally, we discussed how to turn constraints into competitive advantages by embracing your limitations, focusing on your niche, and letting creativity thrive under pressure. The great thing is that once you have fixed one lever, you can move on to the next most critical one and keep repeating this process. These strategies I discussed aren't just strategies for tech companies. They're principles that apply to every business, no matter the size or the industry. The key is taking action because disruption doesn't wait. And businesses that succeed are the ones that take action. They adapt, innovate, and they embrace change. And speaking of action, if you're ready to take your business to the next level, I want to invite you to join my upcoming challenge. In this challenge, we'll dive even deeper into these strategies and many more. I'll show you how to double your revenue while actually working less. You'll learn how to identify your biggest opportunities, optimize your processes, and position your business to thrive no matter how fast things are changing. So click the link below to join the Work Smarter Challenge now. Don't wait for disruption to catch you off guard. Be proactive, be strategic, and take control of your future. And I can't wait to see you there.